At my sister's wedding, I was told to sit by the wall because the front tables are for actual family. My mom shrugged. Just don't embarrass us. I walked to the gift table, picked up the envelope with my $5,500 check, left a single dollar, looked her dead in the eye, and said, "Don't worry, I won't be part of this at all." 10 minutes later, my sister came running down the hall, screaming my name, but The only good thing about my sister's wedding is that I made sure it wouldn't be a happy memory for her. Not ever. People remember weddings for the dancing, the speeches, the I do. My sister. She'll remember the moment she chased me out of a banquet hall in her wedding dress, screaming my name like her life depended on it. And the best part, she brought it all on herself. I wasn't going to come. I debated it for weeks. Our relationship had been strained for a while, mostly one-sided, me giving or taking. But I still had that stupid hope that maybe, just maybe, today would be different. I wore a suit I bought just for the occasion, wrote a thoughtful message in a card, and tucked a check for $5,500 inside. No joke, that was 3 months of saved pay. I told myself it was a gift, not a bribe. I didn't want anything in return. The venue was flashy. Everything was white and gold, like someone had Googled luxury wedding and clicked on the first 5 images. I walked in, nodded at a few distant cousins I hadn't seen in years, and made my way to the check-in table. The girl flipped through the list, found my name, and pointed. "You're seated over there," she said. I looked. The far wall. A row of chairs against the plaster. No tablecloths, no centerpieces, not even place settings. Just sad metal folding chairs like we were waiting to renew our driver's licenses. I asked her to double-check. She did. "Sorry. Front tables are for actual family." I stared at her, then looked over to the front. My mom and dad's center table. My cousins, my uncles, even some random neighbors. Everyone laughing, clinking glasses already on their second round of champagne. And there was my sister beaming like royalty. I walked up to my mom. She didn't even look surprised to see me. "Just don't embarrass us," she said, like I was some unpredictable stray they were forced to invite. Then I caught my sister's eye. She saw me, then turned to her maid of honor and whispered something that made both of them laugh. That was it. I didn't say anything. I walked calmly to the gift table, picked up the white envelope with her name in gold cursive, tore it open, and pulled out the check. A few guests nearby noticed, but didn't say a word. I folded the check, slipped it into my jacket pocket, and pulled a single-dollar bill from my wallet, slid it into the envelope, sealed it, walked right back past my mother. "Don't worry," I said. "I won't be part of this at all." I headed for the exit. No one tried to stop me. Not yet. It wasn't until I stepped into a hallway that I heard the commotion. Doors flying open, my name being shouted like I was a missing child. Then came my sister, barefoot, bouquet in one hand. Vale Askew sprinting after me down the corridor. "Alex, Alex, what the hell? Stop." I didn't stop. Not because I didn't hear her, but because I'd heard enough from her my whole life. She caught up just as I reached the side exit. "What did you do?" she yelled. "What is wrong with you? Do you have any idea what today means to me?" I turned around, calm as ever. "You'll remember it forever," I said. "Just not the way you wanted." She looked around like she expected someone to back her up. But we were alone in that hallway, and I wasn't in the mood for a lecture or a guilt trip. "You treated me like trash." I said. "That seat by the wall, that's how you see me." "Fine, but don't expect me to sit there and smile through it." She opened her mouth like she was going to argue, then saw I was holding the envelope. I held it up. "Check's gone. You got $1. She stepped forward like she was going to snatch it from me. I took a step back. "Don't. This is just the beginning." Then I turned and left. I didn't answer my phone that night, didn't check my messages. I just drove, parked at a diner, ordered coffee, and sat there until I stopped shaking. I didn't feel good. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt hollow. But I also knew something had shifted, and that shift was permanent. Took them 3 days to reach out. 3 days of silence after I walked out of the wedding with that check in my pocket and left $1 behind like a message they couldn't ignore. I guess they were too busy managing the fallout to get to me sooner. From what I heard later, the guests talked about it all night. My cousins argued with my parents at the table. Someone apparently asked my sister mid-toast what she meant by actual family. Her new in-laws looked uncomfortable the rest of the evening. Good. The first message came from my mom. Let's not make this into something bigger than it is. You know how your sister is. We don't want to fight. Then my dad, you shouldn't have done that, but we want to talk. Maybe we can work this out. The kicker was my sister. Can we please talk like adults? No apology, just that. Like the whole thing was a tiny spat about who forgot to bring the potato salad to Thanksgiving. I ignored all of them, but then they texted. Dude, that was brutal. But honestly, they deserved it. I told them right then they crossed the line. That one stayed with me. I didn't reply, but I reread it a few times. Just knowing someone in that room understood what they did meant something. 2 days after that, I got a formal invite, if you can call it that. A text from my dad. We're having dinner here. Just us. Me, your mom, and your sister. No one else. Please come. I hesitated. Not because I wanted to fix things, but because I wanted to hear how they'd spin it, how they justified pushing me to the side like a nobody and still feel entitled to what I gave them. So I went. The house looked exactly like it always had. Same rust-stained mailbox. Same cracked concrete on the driveway. I rang the bell and my dad opened the door like nothing had happened. Inside the table was set. My mom had made lasagna, which was her version of peacemaking. My sister was already sitting there. No makeup, hair up, scrolling on her phone. She didn't even look up when I walked in. We sat down. No one spoke at first. I ate in silence while my dad kept glancing at me like he wasn't sure how to start. Finally, he just said it. We were really counting on that money, Alex. I kept chewing. It's not just about the wedding, he went on. They need it for their new place. Deposits, living expenses. They've had a rough year, my mom added. You're doing well. You have a stable job. They're just getting started. I looked at my sister. She was still staring at her plate like she wanted to be anywhere else. Then she said it. You made a scene. It wasn't just petty. It was cruel. You humiliated me. That actually made me laugh. Not loudly. Just enough that she looked up confused. Cruel? I said. You sat me at the wall. You told the staff I wasn't real family. You smirked when I looked confused. You set the tone. All I did was return the favor. My dad sighed. We don't want to fight. We just want to understand if there's a path forward. There is, I said. But it's not the one you think. I stood up, still calm, still polite, even though I could feel the heat rising in my neck. You all saw me as a checkbook. That's it. You didn't invite me to be part of the day. You invited me to contribute to it. And when I didn't play my role the way you wanted, suddenly I'm the villain. My mom's eyes started to get glassy. My sister finally looked like she might speak, but I didn't give her the chance. I've helped you people more times than I can count. I gave her my old car for free. I paid for Dad's heart meds 2 years ago without being asked. I never made a big deal about any of it because I thought that's what family did. I leaned forward just enough to make sure they heard every word. But if I'm only useful when I'm handing over money, then maybe you're not my family either. And I walked out. No yelling, no slamming doors, just silence. They didn't follow me this time. I didn't expect to hear from them again so soon, but it was less than 24 hours before another message came through. This time from my sister. I want to meet alone. Please. I stared at it for a while, unsure whether to even respond. I was tired. Not the kind of tired you fix with sleep. The kind that sets in when you finally realize a relationship isn't what you thought it was. But I agreed, mostly because I wanted to see if she'd finally be honest. Not just with me, but with herself. We met at a coffee shop halfway between our places. Neutral ground. She wore sunglasses even though it was cloudy. No wedding ring. She looked exhausted. I probably did too. She didn't say hi, just sat down and got straight to it. I need that money, she said. Not we, not he, I. For a second, I thought maybe she was going to open up about something real. Maybe things were worse than I thought. But instead, she launched into a story about how the apartment they wanted fell through, because they couldn't cover the deposit. How her husband had quit his job 2 months earlier for something more flexible and they'd maxed out 2 credit cards. I didn't interrupt. I just let her talk. When she finally paused, I asked, "So, the plan was to humiliate me in front of everyone and still take my money?" She flinched a little. "It wasn't like that. You made jokes about me to your friends. You put me in the back of the room. You told people I wasn't real family. What exactly was it like then?" She was quiet for a second. Then she leaned forward and her voice dropped. "You don't understand. Mom and Dad told me not to fight it. They said it was easier this way, that if we just didn't engage you too much, the night would go smoothly. They didn't want any drama." I laughed. "So, their version of no drama was to treat me like an outsider." She didn't have an answer, just stared at her drink. Then she added, "We thought you'd just sit through it and hand over the envelope like always." There it was. The honesty I'd been waiting for, and it felt like a punch to the chest. I'd always known that's how they saw me, but hearing it out loud gave it weight. It made it real. "So, the seat by the wall was strategic." "I didn't pick it," she said quickly, "but I didn't fix it either." We sat there in silence for a while. Finally, she asked, "Can we just move past this?" I shook my head, not out of anger, but out of clarity. "You know what I've been asking myself this whole week? If those dollar bills mean more to you than I do. If all those things I did, helping with college stuff, giving you my car, covering Dad's prescriptions, if none of that meant anything compared to a $5,000 check." She didn't answer. "I'm not going to war over this," I said. "I'm just done pretending." I stood up to leave. She reached out to stop me, but I stepped back. "I don't hate you," I said, "but I don't trust you, and that matters more." Then I walked out again. I drove home without the radio on, sat in my apartment, and just stared at the ceiling for a while. I knew something was ending, and weirdly, it felt good, like I'd finally quit a job I never signed up for in the first place. But the next part, that was when things got more intense. 3 days after the coffee shop, I got home from work to find both of my parents sitting on the steps outside my building. No warning, no message, just there. Like this was some surprise family visit and not a continuation of the mess they helped make. My mom had a paper bag in her lap, cookies, judging by the smell. And my dad was wearing that strange in-between expression he uses when he's trying to look calm, but knows exactly how badly they've messed up. We were in the area, my mom said. They live an hour and 45 minutes away. I didn't open the door wider. I leaned on the frame and waited. They fumbled to a few minutes of fake normally. My dad asked how work was. My mom asked if I still drank the same kind of tea she used to buy. I didn't respond, just stood there. Finally, my mom got to it. "We're trying to fix this as a family." I glanced at the bag of cookies, then back at her. She held it out like it was an offering, something to sweeten what she was about to say. I took it more out of instinct than anything, set it on the ground next to the door, and waited. My dad spoke next. "They're being evicted," he said. "Your sister and her husband. They didn't want to say anything, but they're out of money. They can't pay the rent. The deposit for the new place fell through. The job he quit, it didn't work out, and she's been hiding it from everyone." I raised an eyebrow. "So, she told you now?" My dad hesitated. "Not exactly. We found out from someone else, and when we confronted her, she admitted it. She's been scrambling to get help, asking around." "You weren't supposed to know." "Not yet." That caught me off guard. I figured they'd at least pretend she came clean. "We thought," my mom said slowly, "maybe if you could just help a little. Not the full amount, just something alone, even just enough to stop the eviction. You'd get it back." I laughed once, sharp and short. "Alone," I said. "Like the time I paid your car insurance for 6 months and never heard a thank you, or when I covered Dad's medical stuff and no one even acknowledged it happened. That kind of loan." My dad looked away. Then I said something I hadn't planned to say. "Do you even know what she told people at the wedding?" They looked confused. "She told them I didn't want to sit up front, that I asked for a quiet spot, that it was my choice. That's what she told the coordinator, the cousins, everyone. And you believed it." My mom looked startled. "She said that to us, too. We thought you thought it was true because that's easier." I said you wanted it to be true. Then the thing I didn't expect happened. My dad sat down hard on the step like his legs just gave out. She's been lying to us for months, he said. About money, about the apartment, about everything. My mom looked at him like he just said something in another language. What do you mean? She asked me for cash back in April. Told me it was for groceries. Said her husband's paychecks were delayed. I gave it to her, no questions asked, but now I'm finding out she told you the money was for gas. I just watched them unravel in real time, and it was weirdly quiet. She told some of the guests I was rich. I said. They both turned to me. She told them I had an inheritance coming, that I was being greedy by keeping it to myself, that I could afford to help but was choosing not to. You know how I found out? Nate texted me. My mom looked like she wanted to say something, but there was nothing left to defend. She's still lying, I said. Even now, they didn't deny it, which was probably the most honest moment we'd had in years. I stepped inside, closed the door, didn't slam it, didn't yell. I locked it, walked to the kitchen, and sat at the counter with the bag of cookies. I didn't open them. Later that night, I checked my phone. 7 missed calls for texts from my mom. 1 long paragraph from my dad that I didn't bother reading. Nothing from my sister. But Nate, he sent me a screenshot. Group chat. A message from my sister timestamped just 2 hours earlier. He's acting all self-righteous because he thinks he's better than us now. Watch. He'll come crawling back eventually. He always does. So yeah, I stopped wondering if they just didn't see my value. They see it. They just never respected it. I gave it a week, a full 7 days of silence. I didn't respond to the calls. Didn't open the messages. Didn't touch the cookies they left in the paper bag on my doorstep. I just let everything sit. Let the dust settle so I could see what was still standing. The messages didn't stop. They just changed. My mom shifted from guilt to desperation. Phrases like, "This isn't how family works and we've always been there for each other." Even though she couldn't name a single time that was true in my direction. My dad kept trying to play middleman. Like if he stayed neutral long enough, he'd come out clean. And my sister, well, she never called. But she texted short once. Cold. If you're gonna keep ignoring us, just say it. You got your attention. Is it enough yet? We're not the villains here. She didn't know I was reading everything. She didn't know Nate was forwarding me the things she was saying in the group chats, telling extended family I was going through a phase, saying I was having a breakdown because I never figured out how to be part of a real family. She even told one aunt that I made up the chair thing to look like a victim. That one almost made me laugh. But what really snapped the last thread wasn't something she said. It was a voicemail from her. Her voice started soft, trying to sound understanding, like she was being the reasonable one. If you're gonna keep blowing this out of proportion, people are gonna figure out what kind of person you really are. That's what she said. Clear as day, like it was a warning. Not just that she wouldn't apologize, but that if I didn't fall back in line, she'd make sure people turned against me. It was never about being sorry. It was about control. I didn't respond. I blocked her number right after I replayed that voicemail one last time. Then I blocked my mom, then my dad, and after that I did something I hadn't done in more than a decade. I booked a trip. No one knew. I didn't post anything online. I didn't ask anyone for suggestions. I just picked a place far away, somewhere warm with water. No plans, no schedules, just me. A suitcase, a passport, and enough space between me and all of it that I could finally breathe. Before I left, I sent one message. Group text 3 people. Don't call. Don't text. Don't email, write, or show up. Don't send updates about your life or guilt about mine. Don't reach out on holidays or my birthday or after someone else tells you I'm doing okay. Don't tell me this is temporary. Don't tell me I'm family. I'm not your emergency exit. I'm done for good. No one replied. Not immediately anyway. But I saw the message get read. I left 2 days later. I packed light. It was strange booking a vacation without making sure someone else could cover my shift or checking in with family or making space in my plans for anyone else. I hadn't done that since college. The hotel had a view of the water, the kind of view that made you feel like the world was still a place where people could start over. I watched the sunrise from a lounge chair with black coffee in my hand and no notifications on my phone. And for the first time, I didn't feel guilty. I didn't wonder if they were talking about me. I didn't worry about what came next because I knew what came next. Nothing. And that was the best part. The first night of the trip, I didn't do anything special. No excursions, no fancy dinners, no bars. I just walked along the beach until my feet hurt and sat on the sand watching the tide move like it didn't owe anyone an explanation. That was the part that stuck with me, the quiet. It was so different from the noise I'd grown used to. The kind where someone's always asking for something, hinting at disappointment, dropping guilt like loose change. I left my phone on silent the whole time. Didn't even check it until the third morning, out of habit more than curiosity. There were 4 messages. One was from my mom hours after I'd sent a group text. "We'll always be your family, even if you say we're not." One from my dad. "You can walk away if you want, but don't expect us to sit around forever." And one from my sister. Picture. It was my niece, her daughter, one I'd sent birthday gifts to every year without fail, even though I hadn't seen her in person in months. Under the photo, my sister wrote, "She misses you, but I guess that doesn't matter anymore." I didn't reply. I wasn't gonna fall for it. I knew the playbook by now. Emotion, guilt, the bait of a relationship they'd never been willing to actually build. And once I caved, it had all go back to how it was before. They'd keep taking. I keep giving. And the resentment would stack like bricks until it crushed me again. I closed the messages and blocked their numbers for the last time. That night, I ate dinner alone by the water. Candlelight, grilled fish, a glass of something cold. I couldn't pronounce. And I thought about everything I'd given them over the years. Money, time, patience. I remember giving my sister my car when hers broke down. No questions asked. Paying for my dad's meds when insurance didn't cover them. Picking up groceries for my mom when she was sick and still saying thanks before I left like I was the one being helped. None of it had ever been about the money. Not really. It was about being seen, about being someone they actually cared to have around. But they didn't care. Not until I said no. That was the final piece. After dinner, I sat on the balcony watching the waves hit the rocks. A breeze came in off the ocean and I realized for the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for someone to need something. I wasn't checking my phone. I wasn't worried I'd missed the call or disappointed anyone. There was nothing left to fix and nothing left to break. I had peace. I thought maybe I'd feel lonely. Maybe regret would kick in. But it didn't. I just felt free, like I'd put down something heavy I didn't even know I was carrying. So, I stayed longer, added an extra week to the trip, rented a scooter, found a little bookstore in town where no one knew my name. I woke up when I wanted, ate when I felt like it, and slept like I hadn't in years. And for the first time, I started wondering something I'd never dared to before. What if this life, this calm, this solitude isn't the backup plan? What if this is the beginning? It's been a few weeks since I got back. I didn't tell anyone I'd returned. I didn't update my status, didn't share a single photo. I unpacked slowly, cooked my own meals, kept the lights low at night, and for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel the usual buzzing in my chest that always came with being back home. No calls came, no texts, just the kind of silence that used to bother me, but now felt earned. I thought I might miss them, not in a sentimental sense, but in that empty way when a routine suddenly disappears. But the longer the days stretched, the more I realized I didn't miss them. I missed the idea of them, the version of a family I'd always been pretending I had. People always talk about drawing boundaries like it's this brave, sudden thing. But for me, it was gradual. It started with a chair, then an envelope, then a voicemail, then a text I didn't answer, and finally peace I didn't ask permission for. What I walked away from wasn't just dysfunction. It was a pattern. One where I was always the one fixing, smoothing, paying, absorbing. The one who showed up even when no one left a seat for me. Now I leave my phone on silent for hours without guilt. I wake up and the first thought isn't, who needs something from me today? It's just, what do I want to do today? That shift, it's quiet. It doesn't come with applause, but it's real. Here's what finally settled in. Love isn't endless giving with no return. Love isn't swallowing every insult just because someone shares your last name. Love isn't measured in how much pain you can tolerate without breaking. And real family doesn't put you in the back row of their life and expect front row loyalty. I didn't walk away to hurt them. I walked away because staying was hurting me. And the life I'm building now on my own, without permission, without performance, it finally feels like mine. And for once, that's enough.